Despite what I'm about to tell you, I am highly skeptical of any ghost story that I hear or read. I won't go into detail because that would be breaking these subreddit rules and this won't get posted. Regardless of my skepticism, I've experienced 3 incidents that I've never been able to explain. They happened between the ages of 13 and 18, and even now, more than 20 years later, they keep me up at night as I try to make sense of them. The first incident is as follows. Back when I was 13 years old, I was living in Manchester, United Kingdom with my mother. We had been staying in a semi-detached house for a few years, but were in the process of packing for a move to a new house in the same area. One night at approximately 7 p.m., my mother and I were sat in the living room watching TV. There was a knock at the door, so I got up and answered it. A friend wanted to know if I wanted to play outside, but we just ended up chatting at the front doorstep. Suddenly, in the middle of our conversation, I heard a woman's voice shouting from upstairs. The voice said, "Hello, can you hear me? I'm over here. Can't you see me?" Immediately, my mother screamed hysterically from the living room. I ran into the room to check on her. She was sat on the couch shaking and truly looked terrified. I asked her what had happened. She told me that a woman's voice had whispered something in her ear. "What did it say?" I asked. "Hello, can you hear me? I'm over here. Can't you see me?" Word for word, my mom told me the same thing that I had heard shouted from upstairs. The first half-decent weapon I found was a tennis racket, so I took it upstairs and searched everywhere. I looked in every room, under the beds, and in the wardrobes. I couldn't find anyone. My friend didn't see anyone come down the stairs. Feel free to tell me that I'm just making shit up. I don't blame you, but I'm putting this story out there to see if anyone else has had a similar experience, hearing unexplained voices. This was the first of 3 unexplained incidents I've experienced. If anyone's interested, I'll tell the other 2. They are pretty good as well. My last post instigated some interesting discussion. I really appreciated all the comments. Here's the link so you can read it here. This new account happened in the same house a couple of weeks later. It was late in the evening and I was in the living room watching TV. Bored with what was on the TV, I looked for the remote so I could change the channel. I checked all over for the remote. On the couch, under the cushions, by the TV, and on the floor. After an unsuccessful search, I gave up and decided to read a comic. As we were mostly packed up for a move to a new house, the main living room light fitting had been removed. This meant I had to take my comic to the opposite end of the living room where the lamp was. As I was reading, the TV turned off. At first I assumed that a power cut was the cause, but quickly ruled this out because the lamp was still on. I went over to the TV and noticed the red standby light. This meant that the TV, the old CRT type, had been switched off by the remote. I then turned around and saw the remote resting on the arm of the couch, pointing at the TV. Given what had happened 2 weeks earlier, see my previous post, this was my cue to go upstairs to bed. I took my comment up to the bathroom and continued to read it on the toilet. During this time, I heard movement outside the bathroom door. I called out, "Mom, is that you?" But got no answer. The movement stopped. Again, I called out and the movement commenced. I leaned down to inspect under the door. 2 distinct shadows were moving about like shuffling feet blocking out the landing light. Now a little scared, I said, "Mom, if that's you, say something. This isn't funny." The movement seemed to get closer to the bathroom door, and that's when the door handle started moving downwards, as if someone was trying to get in. Luckily, the toilet was very close to the door, so I quickly reached out and locked the door. The door handle went back up and the movement became more distant before stopping altogether. I sat on the toilet for around 20 minutes before I had the courage to leave the bathroom. When I finally left, I checked my mother's bedroom door, which was still firmly shut. I didn't hear the door open or close during the incident. I then ran into my room and jumped into bed under the covers. I have considered the possibility that my mother was asleep, walking, and simply didn't hear me calling out. She had no recollection of trying to get into the bathroom. Maybe I didn't notice the sound of her door opening. After the first noise, however, I was on high alert, listening out for every sound, so I'm certain that I would have heard her door close if she went back into the bedroom. I'm not claiming that a ghost was responsible. It's just another experience I've never been able to explain.
For me, the events began when I was a child. The banging in the attic, the translucent eyes looking through a window in the dead of night, and the talks with the Shadow Man. When I moved away to college, I rented an efficiency apartment my sophomore year. My approach to this stuff was that there was a logical explanation. I looked for common threads, found a few, and dived in to see what would happen. It started with an orb. For days, I would suddenly wake up out of a deep sleep and see this small, white sphere. At first, I didn't know what I was seeing. The first time I saw something, it didn't register as anything other than a reflected light on the wall. I lived in a big town and figured something outside must have awoken me and promptly fell back to sleep. Over the next few events, the spot of round light on the wall began to move into the room. After a few seconds, it would disappear, and I would think that that was kind of odd, but wouldn't think anything of it. There was never any sense of fear. If anything, it seemed as if the light was scared of being watched. I didn't care. There was no fear. After a couple of weeks, I woke up one night just as it was coming through the wall. This time, it did not retreat. It entered the room and crossed in front of me. It was less than 2 meters away. If I had to guess its size, I would say it was between a tennis ball and a softball. Unlike the talking shadow thing, this sphere didn't scare me at all. It was beautiful, and I sensed, though I have no way to prove this, that it had been a person. A woman, who had been roughly my age at the time of her passing. And then, things shifted. Not in a scary way, but a rather beautiful way. Has anyone else ever experienced a similar type of physical encounter? I'm too old now to give a care, and I have no qualms taking any type of lie detector test that anyone would care to give me. I'm looking for answers, and it's taken me a long time to finally ask the question. I am house-sitting for a year right now. It's pretty sweet. Rent-free, and you get to take care of a beautiful dog. The only issue is that stuff moves on its own. When we first moved in, the owners told us that their aunt had just passed away and asked us if we were fine having ashes in the house. Of course we are. Well, we were. A few days after they left, the liquor cabinet was open. My girlfriend and I don't drink. Neither of us did it. It doesn't have a handle. You must open the other door with the handle to open the one that's been opening. It is hard to open and it clicks into place. No spring. It happened when we were all upstairs. We've tried recording to no avail. We took the camera out of the room and less than 5 minutes later, it was open again. We had friends over and pointed at the ashes while explaining the situation. The cabinet opened. The only time that we've seen it, it was pulled out of the clicking latch thing. This morning, no one went downstairs before me. Not only was the cabinet open, but so was the heavy drawer. A while ago, my girlfriend experienced an issue with her TV and phone. Both shut off and turned back on playing a different show, and her phone played music. She saw a shadow move beside her and thought that it was me. She screamed. At that exact moment, I was coming upstairs and looked out the window, and I saw an older woman's face behind me. I got the ho-has. It keeps happening. I've taped over the attic door, the cabinet and drawer to see if someone is living in our house. I doubt it, though, because the dog is very aggressive. The carbon monoxide detector is fine and was inspected before we moved in. I can't find a logical explanation for the drawer. First update. Well, I just saw the cabinet forcefully open and ripped the tape. I'm going to sage the house or something. The girlfriend wants to move out, but I'm not giving up a rent-free year in a nice house. So far, nothing scarier than a weird haunted cabinet, so I don't see a point. I'm going to set up more cameras tonight and see how it goes. I'm absolutely shaking right now. Update. I think it's over, and I think I officially believe in ghosts. So this thing was happening multiple times a day, right? For weeks. Ripped through tape twice. Opened a heavy drawer one time. Someone told me I should try putting the ashes in the liquor cabinets, so I did. It's been closed for 3 days now. I guess that she got what she was wanting.